Ooh. Welcome to Mirror Domains, and this is an interesting session here where I'm going to be talking about the Exorcist reboot that just came out called The Exorcist Believer, and it's going to be a writing session. This is the second edition of this series that I'm starting here out on YouTube, where we are going to be writing what I feel The Exorcist reboot should have been, because The Exorcist Believer came out in theaters over the weekend and it was not very well received. 5.2 there on IMDb is rather high compared to the tomato score of 23% by the critics, 58% by the audience. So people are just middle of the road here with this movie audience-wise. But the critics, and I am a critic myself, I didn't say it was as low as 23%, but it wasn't very good. And a lot of it came down to the directing and the writing. The story just didn't add up. It didn't work for me. So I thought that we would go in and, we're going to acknowledge the 1973 movie, and we're going to acknowledge the 1990 Exorcist 3 movie, The Exorcist 2 Heretic. I think it's consensus that most of us don't need to revisit that one, so we won't give that one much. And plus, the behind the scenes stuff going on with that one was just kind of like, yeah, we don't need to really acknowledge that one. The TV series that was out on Netflix and Fox, I don't think we need to acknowledge that one either, because I think that was dealing with something totally different, wasn't it? Not the Pazuzu demon or whatever it's called. Yeah, but we'll deal with this aspect of like the church and stuff like that. And as far as the Exorcist Beginning movie or whatever that was like in 2006 with Stellan Skarsgård, I guess maybe we can sort of decide if we want to take a look at it or not. I 2004 to the beginning. That's what it was. The beginning, yeah, 2004. Stellan Skarsgård. I don't think we need to take a look at this one, because this one was supposed to be a little bit of it, I think, years before Father Lancaster Marin. And Lancaster Marin was in the first one, right? Played by Max von Sydow. So he's like the younger version of the Sydow character. I don't think we needed to go into that one. Pazuzu, yeah. This is the tale of Marin's initial battle with Pazuzu and the rediscovery of his faith. So, and I didn't really find... I must have seen it. I just can't remember it, man. So, yeah. Do we need to revisit this one? And in rewriting our script, we'll have to consider that. Are we going to use this Pazuzu thing or not? Because there's aspects that The Exorcist 3 didn't really use that. Or did they? I don't know. It was more about the Gemini killer, right? Which I thought was more interesting. About just another demon. And that's where I'm going to start out. Is that I believe that you should have just started with a completely new entity. You could have references to Pazuzu, but perhaps not in the way that they wanted. All right, so what do we got here? We have just a simple Word document, and this is called the story wheel, guys. It's like a circular wheel that normally goes around in a circle, but we're going to be using that as our template to construct our script. But I got a key couple points out here, and I'm titled this Word document, Why Insult the Mona Lisa of Horror? Because, yeah, Friedkin came out before he passed, and he said that the guy who made Pineapple Express is rebooting or adding on another movie, a sequel to my original film. And he wasn't too happy about that. So why insult that? And I'm not going to get into the Exorcist Believer criticisms here and stuff. We'll talk about some of the ideas, But I wrote down two main questions here. And we're not going to answer the first one, but it's worth asking. What is evil? And maybe we could play around with that. Maybe this is something that can be thrown around by characters in its space, in its ideology. Because I'll tell you this, I have no idea what this movie is going to be about. What does evil want? That's a question that most people had while they were watching Exorcist Believer. Now, this was set to be the first installment of a new trilogy. That's what happened when Blumhouse bought this property. That he wanted this to be a new trilogy. And David Gordon Green, the director of Exorcist Believer, came on and said that he wrote treatments or story outlines for the three. But, oops, sorry, I just knocked the microphone, my bad. What, normally we can't just write out all three as easily as possible. But what's the base bones that has to happen in a trilogy? So number one, the first movie, evil seems defeated. The second movie, evil retaliates. And then number three, evil definitively is defeated. So we have to ask ourselves this: what's the evil here? Satan? In the Exorcist universe of our trilogy, is that what we want? And is Pazuzu just a marshal of the demons that will be under Satan's lordship or whatever? Or do we even have to deal with Satan? We'll just go back to the Pazuzu monster or entity. We can open this up. Maybe we can go to, let's say, Hyman, one of the, what is it, the 7 or 8 kings of hell from the Hereditary movie. Why not drive towards something like that? Let's clarify this movie structure, movie trilogy structure. Movie 1, evil seems defeated, evil retaliates, evil is definitively defeated. So, again, we go back to the question, what does evil want? Does evil want to take over the world? Why does possessing young girls do anything to accomplish that goal? Well, it doesn't. I would say that it doesn't. How is that? What does that do about moving the line? These are things that we have to consider. Evil wants to take over the world. Yeah. So we're going to shrink this down into, right now we're just like, ultimately, evil gets defeated. Does evil know that it will be defeated? I would say yes. Evil does know. Or no? No, that's the revelation. Evil learns that it is set to always lose. That he that the devil himself is devil is just a pawn in the grander scheme. And that'll be revealed in the third movie. That's something that will happen. That'll just be kind of like, oh, you think you're the kingdom, you rule over hell, right? You think you've got your own kingdom down there, but you're just a pawn. You're there. Yeah, you can do some horrible things to some of God's creatures here on earth, but you're just a tool. You're a method of control. The devil and demons, just another method of. Is that wrong to say it like that? It's just another method of control to guiding God's creatures of man, of human, to spiritual enlightenment. Is that word wrong? Okay. I think I need to put in a whole bunch of commas. I guess I will do the courtesy of uh, capitalizing that one. So we're writing all this stuff just as background, as a base, as to what the first movie is going to be. This is stuff that we're driving towards, and we need to know this because we're going to be setting this up to pay off later on in the third movie. But James, why don't we just set it up in the first movie? Because the new Exorcist Believer was set up to be a trilogy. So evil will seem to be defeated. There'll be um, a repeat of some of the themes of a rhyming scheme. You heard George Lucas talk about that when he was making the Star Wars movies, right? That certain installments, they're like stanzas in poetry. They rhyme with each other. So evil will think once again that it's being uh, defeated, but it will come back in some form by a loose end that we'll leave in the first movie to come back and retaliate. And it'll think that it'll do it again in the third movie, but no. The big revelation will be like, you mean I'm just a pawn in this too? I never had any real power? That's where we're driving towards, right? And that'll be kind of like evil is just you're nothing. You thought you were something, but you're not. Um, all you've got are just little abilities to corrupt people, children, perhaps. I don't know, like you've done. Um, I would put this into. Um, do we need to? I would say yes, because this is another introduction attempt to bring in a generation to this franchise. I would say yes. So we would go back for the first movie. We would put back in the possession of a younger person. All right. So that's I need to get that out of the way before we get back into the main story here. Um, I don't even know what the characters are going to be about. I don't. Because I'm not going to put in story of the same story, the same people and stuff from Exorcist Believer. Um, let me pull up what Exorcist Believer's IMDb says here. Um, that's not giving me the answer I want. Yeah. This time it's the demon goddess Lamashtu. Lamashtu is in this one. So they are doing a different, they did do a different demon. And I just saw what I wanted to do to make it scary. This is from the opening of the movie, but see how this guy's sitting back here? And this would take inspiration from It. Which is, you would see weird things, like unsettling things where there'd be just a person in the background staring at them. Maybe with an ominous look. That's what I would put in and try to build up the atmosphere that way. So Lamashtu. Okay. I don't know if that's based on any kind of lore or anything like that. As far as demons go, I don't really know that much about them. I don't really care. I'll tell you this too. I don't believe in them. Because if I ever got any hint of any evidence that they were real, trust me, I would try to myself conjure them up and become their master and use them as my force of evil. No, I don't. Yeah, I would be their master, not the other way around. Anyway, Lama Su. I don't know. We'll just use generic names. Our demon will be called Styxxa. There you go. Will be our demon. Who will work with Pazuzu in the second movie. He reawakened in the first movie by bringing in a cameo from the first movie. Okay, so first movie. Styxxa. Is that our main character? No, it's just our Styxxa. Just we're going to use a generic template here. Okay, and maybe we can use the story arc for her. Why not? Or the story circle. I don't know why I called her just called her as a her. Demons, are they gender assigned? Styxxa. What does Styxxa want? To set the table for devil to take over the earth. Initial problem. They have no physical forms. Initial action. Styxxa. Current time. Styxxa is imbued into a Ouija game like new and updated for current time, like what the girls were doing in The Exorcist. So we're sort of believers. So we're sort of following that. Young girl gets possessed. Spiritual guider. Why possess the little girl? Why do they need a physical form? And then they know that they're. We go back up to our notes here. Why do they possess? Individual 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 hellscapes where they think they are talking to other demons and the devil, but it is an illusion. So they must possess the flesh to communicate to another demon that dark power is rising to signal the return of the return of the Antichrist. So let's say our demon Styxxa has found out that the hells that they've been stuck in, it's all big fantasy to them. And she's found out that, yeah. Oh, and that'll go back to feeding our idea of that'll be the first clue that should be them that they're all being used as pawns. So they possess people to create enough spark out there that it's like communicating to somebody in a cell next to you. That, hey, a demon was out there. They made this big possession kind of thing, knowing that they were going to get defeated, but in signaling that possession, it signaled to another demon out there, like, well, what was that other one? Lokchu or whatever? What did I say that was? Uh, or Pazuzu or Luxu? Yeah, maybe we'll say Pazuzu. Um, it'll it'll signal to Pazuzu to rise again, kind of thing. And that this is how they try to communicate to each other across rounds because they have been locked down. Yeah, I like that. So that'll be a revelation that'll come out in the second movie. Um, a crude form of communication between demons. Yeah. Yeah, you expelled them from that person, but they're never really gone. You just sent them back down into their own hells. I like that. That's interesting. That's totally interesting, right? So therefore, everything in the first movie is just flash, and we can go back into scares. Pivotal action. Styxxa is is exorcised. So we change this now due to this edict, not for the like that's the end game goal to communicate with another demon. The initial problem, they have no physical form. Yeah. My friend in the live chat says, hey, initial action Styxxa is imbued with a Ouija-like game to new updated current time. Young girl gets possessed. A pivotal problem, a priest and spiritual guide is brought in to to exorcise this possession. Styxxa gets exorcised. Change. What's the change? What's her change? So yeah, it's just like the whole purpose of being possessed is to create noise, right? Hey, I've got possession of this young person. I'm going to make them do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. It's going to get people in the church talking. It's going to get people in the press talking. The story will be out there that somebody got possessed, um, and there's going to be some kind of way to communicate. Once again, maybe the person inside will be writing on the flesh, but embedded in that would be also a communication of, is it time to unleash the fury, kind of thing. There'll be a question mark in a different language, maybe some kind of code that will be relayed that won't get understood until maybe the post credit scene of the first movie. Like maybe that'll be the ending scene of the first movie. Let's talk about the ending scene of the first movie will be a priest solving Styxxa's riddle that seems to be more of a communication to another demon. That it really had nothing to do with this case of possession. And we'll leave that for the audience to be kind of like, oh wow, I didn't realize that could happen. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just opening up the YouTube chat here. Bifer in the live chat says, hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're just, well, how far are we in here today? 30 minutes into writing a new spec script for what I believe the Exorcist believer should have been all about. And we're making good ground here. I think we are. This is going to come together a lot quicker than our Friday the 13th spec script from last week. We've covered some good ground here. And I think we're ready to go in with a story circle of what the first movie is all going to be about. Because now that we've got some things in here that really drive home what we're going to go for. So I will copy and paste our story circle into our acts. Act 2. There's 2 circles, obviously. And then Act 3. So we got to think about characters. Who do we want to use? Who's going to be the young girl? And who's going to be the returning character from the first movie? Do we need to see Reagan? I think that's what people would like to see. Ellen Burstyn coming back was fine. It didn't really add anything. People cheered when Linda Blair showed up in the movie, though. It was kind of like, finally, she's back. It just took the entire movie for her to be in there. It was kind of like, yeah. Are we going to have any scenes of a girl walking into a church giving weird things? Are people going to get scratched up? I don't know. I don't think so. I thought I could brighten that up, but I guess I can't. I think most people are tired with that trope, right? Chris Schober says I got done watching Loki season 2 episode. Who was pretty good, James? I haven't. I'm not watching Loki. Loki lost me when, and I've said that before with episode 4 of the first season. The fake deaths killed the MCU for me, pretty much. And Loki's just he's run his course. For me, he has. Unless you're going to definitively say at the end of the Loki series that this will be the end of him, he's not going to come back anymore. He's finally done. I won't. I don't. I'm just sick of the fake deaths, and I don't want it. But I digress. Let's get back into the exorcism, because I do want to. What makes The Exorcist scary? Before we get into this. Possession is scary. Oops, sorry, you guys can't see that. What? Let's say this. What? The first Exorcist scary. Young girl Swearing? Was that scary? No. It was off-putting. It was misplaced, right? It made you feel uncomfortable. Scary imagery. Walking upstairs. The crab walk. That was scary about the first one, right? Was vomiting green puke. Yeah, that scared people. Uh, Floating of beds. Now, it this reboot can't be just the retread of that. I would say cinematography. Cinemat- Oops. Totography. So cinematography. Uh, the color palette. The color palette that they chose to use made it feel drab and dreary. A lot of it was at night when the main father came, Max von Sydow, right? It was very iconic imagery. That's what we'd have to go for in this one. So we would have to hire a very uh, talented director of photography. Aren't they making another one after this Exorcist Believer movie, James? Yes, they're making one that's supposedly called Deceiver. I just don't know why. So that's why I'm making this right here. I'm writing my own damn Exorcist movie. Um, so what would be the backbone of this first movie? Um, we can emulate what Believer had, girl and father. Instead of this time the mother, yeah, the father. We can have a father, maybe a strained relationship is strengthened by this possession. About mental illness. Yes, we will, but it won't be the forefront. We're not going to waste an entire act having her go to a psychiatrist and stuff like that. Um, Psychologist himself. He's oops, had to be brought in. The father is a psychologist himself to ease parts of the story so that another character doesn't have to be brought in to fill that role. So perhaps it could be a question of science, of what is faith's role in a man of science. He has been trying to shield his daughter from exploring faith, and that is why she experiments with spirit raising games like Ouija, because she just didn't see any danger in it. She didn't believe that it was real, right? Um, Here's something I want to mandate for the movie. Why am I having problem? Possession to be the first act. I want it to be sickening. Like in The Exorcist Believer, it was just one moment their face is like normal. The second moment, it's all like in that poster. You don't see the transition into that. I want to see the face distorting in real time and not just a cut, and not just a jump cut to her all mangled up. Use inspiration like from Nightbreed, when that one guy cuts his face off in pieces. That's the kind of grotesqueness that we would have to see. That's the disturbing stuff. Exorcist Believer was rated R, wasn't it? Yeah, rated R. So then don't hold back. There's something about The Exorcist Believer that felt tame. The question of faith will be throughout all of the movies. So it's kind of like, yeah, that'll always be in there. Now we're getting somewhere, right? What's the name of the father? Pick a name, guys. Let's pick some names. I don't know. Let's say daughter is Ivy. The father is Bruce? No. What's a common father-daughter trope? Atticus? Lear and Cordelia? Yeah, but I want it to be something like that, on the nose. I want it to be very on the nose. To Kill a Mockingbird. Atticus? That's his name? No, I don't need it to be weird. Jane Austen. Atticus Finch and Scout. Name her Scout and Atticus. That's a little bit too on the nose. Finch and Scout? No. Luna. King Lear and Cordelia. I don't know Emma. I was thinking of something weird like Ophelia or something. Like name her that. But she was always crazy, wasn't she? Ophelia. We can't use Leia and Anakin. Or can we? Bail. Bail Prestor Organa. Yeah, it's coming together. We got an idea. So there you go. Daughter will be Leia. Father will be Bail. He shoots blanks. And they had to adopt. Now we're getting some juicy backstory, right? They had to adopt. Adopt Leia. However, once Leia was adopted, the mother wanted to experience real motherhood for herself. Yeah, I like that. It reminds me of that scene in Fight Club where they were at the testicular cancer um, meeting, where the one guy said that the wife broke up with him because she wanted to have a family. Well, there's ways for people to have families aside from actually, getting together. But for some people, it's very important that they have it themselves. So why couldn't you just choose another donor? Why couldn't you choose a donor in that situation? No, some people have to have it the natural way. Right? So, yeah, we'll do it like that. And we can't spell bail like that. Can we? Yeah, we can. Why not? It's just for our spec script, guys. The names, they can be switched around. And we said that the other day, last week when we did our Friday the 13th movie. But we had to put in our backstory, our reasoning here for why things are going to happen the way that they do within the movie. Okay. So, knowing that this is the background, Styxxa will be somebody who cuts through them. Event will be something that cuts through them and brings them together. dinner, like the hereditary dinner scene, where these emotions come to pass. This will allow actors to come in and have their own say over what's going to happen, kind of thing. Yeah. Maybe we can't use Leia. I don't know. In Leia's death. Leah's death. Leia? Leah? Whatever. Of course it doesn't. Perhaps the mother can come back in. Can come back into the picture when she learns of the trauma. That'll create drama between the father and her as well. Again, it's like you abandoned us. You had no. Why are you wanting to come back into her life now? Kind of thing. That's the emotional backbone, and that was something like they tried to put in of the father daughter relationship into the Exorcist Believer. It just it was too. I wouldn't say slow. It just wasn't executed all that well because there were there that it was established in the beginning that the father really cares about the daughter. We'll have to do stuff like that too. It's just we're taking a different path here, and we've got different understandings of what. I still don't know what the devil was trying to achieve in the first movie. Um, yeah. Um, it would seem almost as if everything coming in from the first movie then is irrelevant. We don't need to bring in anything from the first movie unless the Styxxa herself writes a message, conveys a message instead of help me. Yeah. So when Regan appears again, appears near, the new possession. This will make her very scared. She will refuse to see her. Hmm. Do we have to reveal in the first movie that that's why that it's just a demon trying to communicate? Yeah, we do. We will. The whole point of the possession is, yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. Yeah, there we go. The mother's name will be, I don't know, let's pay homage. Let's pay homage. Nurse Allerton. No. Hmm. Nancy Allerton? There we go. We got it. Oops. Okay. So, character. Who's the main character? It can't be the girl. It's got to be the man. It's got to be Bail. What does Bail want? Bail wants to with his daughter. Initial problem. With his daughter, Leia. This is going to be so weird if I write a Princess Leia story and we're using these names. But they're just they're just placeholders, guys, the names. Initial problem. Leia wants to learn about her mother. Leia wants to learn more about her mother and religion. She looks up on the internet to learn about spirits, finds conjuring game. Wants to learn about her birth mother. Yeah, we'll say birth mother. Get her and her friend play the game just like in the first movie. A pivotal problem. Styxxa attaches to Leia. It's very straightforward, guys, as an opening act. Pivotal action. Nothing. And has mentally injured herself. What has changed? Nothing. Nothing has changed. So that's the opening act. Just a rough sketch. That's all this is, guys. This all this ever was. It's just a rough sketch. We're not filling out the grid lines of an actual scene by scene kind of thing. Now, I may go back and bolster some of these points when we fill out the majority of the second act here. But we got to put in these things just because, well, hey, this is how we fill out the story. We would have to have let me give you an example of this. So, opening scene. No, not the opening scene. Who is Bail? What the heck is Bail Kinderman? Let's use that. Who is Bail Kinderman? Opening scene establishes Styxxa entity mythos to audience. Kind of like the opening scene of the first one where they find artifacts and stuff, right? We get to see that Styxxa mythos from some lecture of some kind, right? Maybe she kills somebody. She possesses somebody to... Ooh, there we go. In a vile and gruesome way. Just to see if she's got enough power. We don't know that, but that's why she does this to see if she has enough power to possess. Then it would go into the opening scene of Bail. Let's go like this. Bullet points. Insert. Page break. Thank you. I put this in just so that any other notes that we have will go up there. So, and then like, who is Bail Kinderman? Establish him as psychologist. We establish him as a devout psychologist. What do you mean by that, James? That he firmly believes in religion, right? At symposium, maybe. Symposium. Gets text from daughter and leaves. Someone asks him why. replies. I love my daughter more than any. I love my daughter. We'll make it cheesy, sentimental, more than anything on earth. So that's a scene. Establishes him as a psychologist, a man of science, and that he loves his daughter. That's what I mean by filling it out. We're just filling out the basic grid lines here of the core structure of the acts. But if we went into the next step, that's what we would be doing, creating those scenes, right? And maybe we should do that for our Nightmare or our Friday the 13th script. Go in and start actually putting in scenes like this. It's not hard to do, but just to give people a little bit more understanding if you've never seen this process of writing done before. One of the reasons why I do it, why I'm showing you guys this, and one, it helps me sharpen my skills as a writer, right? And it's fun to see behind the curtain sometimes, as to be like, yeah, well, this is what writers do, right? So, yeah. Whoops. Okay. But I'm liking the way that this is shaping up. First act, very straightforward, very basic, right? Character. Bail. What does she want? What does Bail want? Well, it sounds very basic from the first one, James. But no, it won't, because we're taking it more from the father's side and not from the father. Um, we're not taking it from Father Karras. Karras? Is it Karras or Karras? I forget how they pronounced it in the first movie. Or Father Mayor. We're not taking it from that aspect. Because I got the hint from Exorcist Believer, that they wanted to try to limit the church's involvement, because we've all been there before, of, oh, the church doesn't want to go involved. Oh, the church has its doubts. The church doesn't do exorcisms anymore. Do we have to play that game again? We're just going to assume that the church will come in. And maybe that'll go back to our overall arc of in this. The church will be more involved in the second movie. Evil retaliates, further involving the church. Like the hero, the priest, the father that comes in to save them and do the exorcism at the end. He's there in the first one, but he gets ramped up more in the second one, and it's defeated because Pazuzu and Styxxa will work together to defeat him, and it'll be like bad. But then, of course, the church has more resources, so there's always more, right? So then the bulk of the main story happens. Now that we got everything set up, yeah, Bail wants to help his daughter in recovery. At the end of this, of course, there will be no change. What's the initial problem? Initial problem is that medical treatment seemed to be working. Medical treatment does not seem to be working. Initial action. Hmm. Hmm. Initial action. Pivotal action, I think, gets does it all have to take place in a hospital somewhere? Because somehow they made it they want to make it back to a house somehow, and that's just like the first movie, and that's like what they did in Exorcist Believer. Why can't you have it all in a hospital somewhere or a private facility? Initial action, she is committed to facility, just like in the movies. Her violent acts seem to be subdued. No, hold on. Let's move that to here. Medical treatment does not seem to be working. She is committed. Yeah, because that happened too early. Initial problem. Um, the initial problem is that Bail tries to treat daughter. Initial action. She resists with extreme violent tendencies. So this is when you would see the things that made people like there would be different versions of her uh, cutting herself. This is oops. Um, there we go. Sorry, my bad. Um, yeah. So kills or maims psychiatrist, uh, psychiatrist friend, and Scar's own face. Do we have to do the whole? Uh, Do we have to do the whole here's her voice talking in a different language kind of thing? Maybe. There's room for that kind of stuff, but that's just nuance stuff, right? She's committed to facility, no change. Very basic, very simple here. Everything up till now, up to the first half of the movie, is very familiar territory. This is when we would start to go in a different direction to start setting up the later installments in the franchise. So, initial character. Bail. What does Bail want? Bail wants to help daughter. Initial problem. Who did we say the mother was? Nancy. Reappears, offering spiritual advice. After argument, Nancy sees Leia and tries a blessing prayer, which makes Styxxa very angry. Bail agrees to have a father counsel Leia. What's the pivotal problem? I think the father will believe. We got to say, the new father will come in unconditionally believing the situation. Or priest. Let's say priest. Yeah. Bill agrees to have a priest come in and appraise the situation. After seeing pivotal problem. Bill doesn't believe this because of his training. But knows lobotomy is the knows a form of knows pivotal action. No. Yeah. No change. Bill helps daughter. This is easy to write. This is less. As so it's really just a retelling of the first movie, but with different things. Pivotal problem. Critically wounded. Yeah, the priest gets critically wounded. We think it's going to do, but it's going to be the rope up. We think the priest is going to try to get the demon into himself to sacrifice himself again, but that doesn't happen. It's the mother that does it. We would think that it was Bill. Sorry, not Bill. Bail. Now I can still switch that up. Maybe it'll be Bail that'll sacrifice himself. But even if I say that the mother offers to sacrifice herself to save, we would still have to go back in and lay the groundwork for a little bit more between the mother and father if that happens. Right? Bail. Or maybe, you know what? Nancy wants to help daughter. Initial problem. Or maybe this is the second act. Maybe we got to switch these around. Yeah. Wants to help daughter. Bail doesn't want her there. Initial action. Admits she was wrong to leave. Does not regret. Initial get. She is allowed to see Leia with priest. Yeah, we'll change this around here. What do we say? Yeah, so hold on here. I'm screwing up here. So we're going to take this out. We're going to say that this is more Act 3. Because I like the duality here of changing the main character perspective in Act. And it adds a tragedy to Nancy, where you think that she's like an opposing villainous kind of role, that we're going to demonize her because she was the absentee mother. But no, she comes in and she comes through to play at the end. She plays her cards and she steps up, right? Because she left at young age. But doesn't regret becoming a mother. She is allowed to see Leia with the priest. The priest is critically wounded. No, that's... Okay, hold on. Get pivotal Problem. Priest is critically wounded. Styxxa gets exorcised. As mother steps in for sacrifice. Priest is critically wounded yet. Bail and Leia have. Oops. Now, it seems on the face here that not a lot of scary stuff is happening, but don't worry. As I said, some of our mandates that we've already put in of how it's shot, all the grotesque stuff that happens to her, is there, right? Is critically wounded. To uncode, decode Styxxa's true intention. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so no change. Yeah, this first act would have to be, or the first part of this act would have to be redone, and the last part of this act would have to be redone. So some big crisis thing has to happen. Uh, she'll be lobotomized. She'll be lobotomized. Pivotal action. What's the critical thing here? It would be like something seems to be working. Maybe the priest getting critically wounded at the end of the first one of the second act is the pivotal, is the crisis moment, because what's left? If I say that there, pivotal action. They take her to be lobotomized. No change. Nobody has helped her. Right? They take her to be lobotomized. Yeah, that's pretty critical. That's a critical problem. The initial problem. What if I said this? And target Leia about to be lobotomized. Initial action. Releases her. So that what? Releases her so that a moment of clarity like a concession is being made. Yeah. So what does she plan to do to get a message out there to another demon? How do you communicate? How? Yeah, this is what we need to figure out. This is not something. How would this is the last two pieces of the puzzle? How would getting notoriety get the attention? Why all the ruckus? Hmm. This is the last pieces of the puzzle. Why not possess someone and walk around to another demon until? Okay, so then here's where we go into the spirituality stuff. can it has to be performed by people who reject God. So while Styxxa using the possession of Leia to with Pazuzu, it also is an attempt to get into Bail. The ritual. That makes more sense, doesn't it? If like the whole possession of the kid kind of thing. Why did it happen to a kid? Because they were trying to get somebody to do a ritual that would open up the gates of hell. And that won't come into that'll be revelations that'll come out in the second movie. Right? That it was something that we learned about the first movie that wasn't true. That we thought it was just to get him it was all simply just to get a message out, but no, it was also an attempt to get through to Bail because he doesn't believe in God. So he would be a perfect vessel to get into, except he's so disciplined with science, he just wouldn't succumb to these kinds of things. He has to be weakened. But if we don't make him a good father, then people aren't going to like him. Just like they didn't like the father in the dad in Exorcist Believer. So maybe that's I don't know. You got to like somebody in the movie. You didn't really like the girls, so you got to like somebody. And if the mother comes in, and we play the bait and switch with, we think it's going to be Bale that sacrifices himself, which is what the demon wants, which is what Styxxa wants. Styxxa wants to inhabit Bale, but she's got to get him weakened enough. Not years, as time goes by. So it does beat him down that she's gone. And then when Nancy appears in the middle of the second act, a pivotal point, the mother returns. That makes more sense. And there'll be more animosity between them, between Nancy and Bail. Yeah, I like that. They take her to get lobotomized. Yeah. So, yeah, knowing this releases for a moment of clarity. But tries to do the rights. Tries to the rights, but tries the rights, but mother who is faith-based steps in and helps. Okay, so let's fill this out a little bit. Possession is not big enough. Leia's getting some bone. Get um, her parents together again. Gets to see her parents together again. Leia gets to see her parents again. But Styxxa warns parents. If lobotomy, but warns parents. Lobotomy is an evil end, meaning yeah, I'm liking that much better. There's a bit of a tone shift there, isn't there? And it's kind of what happens to Leia in this. Sorry, we're using the names. Is that she becomes very Hannibal Lecterish. Yeah. No. we would forego the swearing scene and the pleasuring of the body and the fleshes and stuff, um, for more like grotesque stuff like Silence of the Lambs, Buffalo Bill type stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So this is just the base outline of the sequence of events. And somewhere in here, you're like, Bail loses faith. Does he have to become an alcoholic though? It's just that's something that I feel would work because let's fill that out. The ritual, the ritual of gates. We'll call it that. Yeah, because we assume that the end game is they want hell on earth. We want the audience to think the end game is hell on earth. But once the demons realize that they're just all pawns, that'll give a satisfactory ending to the trilogy. Yeah. Because we'll assume that Styxxa is defeated, but the message will get through to Pazuzu. Now, if you had to tie in Regan or Claire, right? Via phone call. Or messenger. Like there's definitely ways that we could interweave it for sure. Um, that would not be as distracting as the way that they did it in Exorcist Believer, where they would have the mother come in, um, Chris McNeil. Sorry, Chris. Yeah. But I think that's a sound place to start. That's where I would start. And guys, we've only been doing this for an hour and 51 minutes. Remember, when I started this, I had no idea who the main characters were going to be. It's pulling from a lot of the same story as the first movie, which I think is fine, but it does stray halfway through, right? The setup is the same, and it needs to be. It's okay to retread that. We don't need to re-envision the wheel just yet there. And they sort of did that with Exorcist Believer as well, that her and her friend went off to play a game, a Ouija type spirit conjuring game. And of course, they came to a bad end. But they just digressed with, oh, the neighbor was studying to become a nun years ago and stuff like that. I was like, for God's sakes. This is still, what's the backbone? Family, relationships between mother and father and daughter. And that's how you get through to people. Now, embedded in all of this, as I said, will be the scary stuff, guys. Um, if I fleshed out scenes, then yes, you would start to see, well, why is this scary? Well, I'll show you why it's going to be scary. But I have to fill it in. The grid lines, right? We'll come up with new things. Instead of the crab walk and stuff, we'll do different things. Notice in here, I didn't say anything about floating beds or my scary would be more, yeah, I'll make her more like Hannibal Lecter or Buffalo Bill kind of thing, where she'll maim her face. That won't get healed right away when the demon leaves. That's a trope that'll be gone. No, when she cuts her face, that cut's going to stay there forever, kind of thing. Trust me, it'll be brutal. When she cuts up people who are trying to study her and help her, and when the priest comes in and stuff, you'll see the typical imagery of them not liking the church. You'll see that typical stuff. But I like how I kind of switched the character there at the end. I just needed to get it that way. It helped realize things. The regrouping. Yeah. I know it may not make sense. Maybe I haven't conveyed it properly. But if I did the next step here of starting to fill out the scenes, like if I started writing out the outline for all the scenes in Act 1 and all the scenes in Act 2 and stuff like that, if I started to write out, Bail tries to use the psychiatry to treat her daughter, she resists with extreme violent tendencies. And we started to fill out that stuff. You would start to see that. And I don't think it would take 2 hours or an hour and 54 minutes to do this story. It would be short. As you see, we're not going to grandiose locations or anything like that. So the budget would be relatively small too, I think. I think this is a movie that I could make for about $7 million. Most of it would be on visual effects and subtle visual effects of like, okay, we're filming this during the day, but we're going to change it tonight through the computers and stuff like that. We'll add some eerie, half-dead trees outside and stuff like that. There'll be people in the backgrounds staring at you with weird faces, jump scares in there and stuff. The typical bag of tricks for a horror movie. But I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty solid. I'm feeling happy with that. I'm going to save. And I think that came together a little bit quicker, right, guys? Than I just love talking about Friday the 13th. So if you like this kind of stuff, guys, if you like the way that I kind of brought this together, I don't think that this would insult the Mona Lisa of horror. I don't think it would. Maybe because you guys can't see exactly all the little nuances and stuff. But you notice I also don't have any scenes in here that go into backstory or exposition of, like, middle of it, of people going to church and saying, oh, no, the priests, we don't believe in exorcisms and stuff like that. Story driven, character driven. That's what I would do. Now, this is my first pass, guys. As I said, it's only been an hour and 57 minutes, but I was able to construct a very rudimentary basic outline for what my Exorcist movie would have been about and how it would set up part 2 and 3 right there. Evil seems defeated in the first movie. Evil retaliates in the second movie, further involving the church. And then The big revelations happened in the third movie. That Styxxa wasn't just trying to get a message out to Pazuzu, but they were also trying to corrupt people of who don't believe in God to do the gates ritual, the opening of the gates ritual. Of course, I think they'll succeed in getting it, but then they'll realize that God, hey, that whole thing was just a method of control, because you demons are just a method of control. You're really meaningless, and he'll go like this at the end, and you're all gone just like that. And you have to restart the cycle all over again. Good stuff. All right, guys, that's it for me. I had lots of fun with this today. I like writing stuff, and I hope you enjoyed me going through this process. Just hashing out ideas. If you got any, let me know in the comments section. And as I said, this is part of a playlist. We did Friday the 13th. I'm going to put up a poll in the community tab for next week, what we would do. I think I had two topics. I had the Transformers, and I wrote down King Conan. Should we do a Conan? Because I saw Arnold today was on The View, and I was like, Arnold could still do it. Could we do an old version of like a barbarian that's long in the tooth, but still maybe has one more big adventure in him? Could we do that? Conan. Should we do that next week? Let me know in the comments below. All right, guys. Earlier in this afternoon, we watched Totally Killer. That's up on our Twitch right now. I'm going to edit it down and try to put a reaction note on the YouTube page. My review for Totally Killer is up on the YouTube page right now, so I implore you to go over and check that out. What else is up on the channel? Well, we got reviews for The Exorcist Believer, Pet Sematary Bloodlines, a movie on Netflix called Nowhere, a woman stranded in a shipping container out at sea. Very scary stuff. We're watching Survivor Season 45 every week on Thursday mornings, guys. Pay attention to the schedule this week, because it's being moved ahead to 9 a.m. on Thursday because of a series called The Fall of House of Usher also opens up. Friday mornings at 9 a.m. this week as well. We'll be doing episode 3 of Hell's Kitchen, episode 8 of Ahsoka. We've watched The Wishmaster last week. Go enjoy that. The Creator, Saw 10 reviews, and of course we do movie news during the week. So we do lots of cool stuff here. That it's all movies, trailer reactions. And as you can see, we are starting this new series of writing stuff. And it's going to be something that I'm going to have to refine. I know that there's still areas left to go, but I want you to see the thought process that goes into these things, where I'm cohesively thinking about an arc and not just flying by the seat of my pants, which I was for this. But this is the stage where flying by the seat of your pants is okay. Not when you get into hiring the cast and getting on set and going, guys, the script really sucks. Does it? Well, it shouldn't, because this is just round one. If I start to refine it, I would expect 2 or 3 passes before I would even begin considering that my first draft. And then I would work on the shooting script, which would involve a lot more detail. So there you go. All right, that's the process. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for more movie news here on Mirror Domains.